designed to feed itself. Every hour it chews a little of the floor beneath it and uses the debris to power the next cycle. At first, the machine hums. Jobs are plentiful, incomes rise, products flood the market. But the machine is blind to the ground it consumes. The moment the debris runs thin, the machine stalls. That is the modern economy, a system that demands endless replenishment and now faces the reality that the sources of replenishment, human labor, expanding markets, and a stable climate, may not keep up. Economic growth is often treated as a natural law, yet it is actually a social construct reinforced by institutions, culture, and incentives. For decades, growth was facilitated by post-war Keynesian policies, globalization, and financial innovation. Household debt, corporate leverage, and consumer culture created a feedback loop where everyone, banks, firms, and households, relied on growth to meet obligations, sustain employment, and maintain political legitimacy. Slow growth or decline threatens this fragile equilibrium, triggering recessions, defaults, and social stress. 5 structural hooks make growth nearly unavoidable. First, private debt creates a compulsion. Borrowers must generate higher nominal income to service interest. Second, social contracts link employment to pensions, healthcare, and public services, making high employment politically and economically critical. Third, corporate incentives push firms to pursue constant expansion and short-term profits, driven by markets and debt obligations. Fourth, the financial system depends on rising collateral values, credit extension, and asset appreciation. Finally, consumer culture engineered through advertising and planned obsolescence requires constant demand replenishment. When growth falters, the effects ripple outward. Reduced demand leads to layoffs, which decrease consumption, which depresses asset values, prompting credit contraction and deepening economic pain. Deflation exacerbates the problem. As prices fall, debt burdens rise in real terms, incentivizing hoarding and delaying recovery. Emerging pressures make reliance on growth even riskier. Automation and productivity gains reduce the need for labor, potentially collapsing consumer demand if gains concentrate as profits rather than wages. Demographic shifts, falling birth rates, and aging populations shrink working-age populations and tax bases. Ecological limits constrain resource availability and increase costs, imposing physical ceilings on growth. Traditional policy tools are often insufficient. Monetary interventions like rate cuts and quantitative easing risk asset bubbles and diminishing returns. Fiscal stimulus is politically constrained and temporary. Supply-side fixes, like retraining workers, act slowly and often exacerbate inequalities. Without systemic redesign, the economy risks chronic stagnation, inequality, and political instability. The path forward requires rethinking the foundations of work, finance, and social support. Policies that decouple social welfare from employment, such as universal basic income and universal services, could stabilize demand. Taxation could shift toward rents, automation profits, and excess financial gains rather than labor. Investments in public goods that do not require immediate consumption, care, infrastructure, environmental maintenance, can sustain social stability. Above all, society must redefine what constitutes meaningful work, wealth, and growth. Our economy is not an inexhaustible machine. It is a human construct dependent on replenishment we can no longer take for granted. If we fail to adapt, we risk decades of stagnation, systemic crises, and political upheaval. If we act wisely, we can redesign institutions to distribute productivity gains, secure social stability, and create a sustainable economy that functions without endless growth. The choice is not between growth and collapse. It is between passive reliance on a broken system and active creation of one that endures.